It's your girl Nthabi, and welcome back to the APC series. So today we'll be covering ethics. So this is a very tricky topic because sometimes it's not really explicitly triggered in the pre-release, but then this video will help you to identify the key things that you need to focus on to be able to answer an ethics question. So now we are in the period of the pre-release, so the 5 days. Now you got your case study and you want to prepare for the ethics section. So what can help you is basically identifying what contravenes the company's values, because when it comes to ethics, it's about us being able to give feedback to management to say that, listen, in the company we do this. It's basically reminding management that when we became employees of the firm, we made a vow that, if let's say their values are treating employees with respect, we said we're going to do that. If they take corporate governance seriously, then you're going to remind management of the commitment they made to always do the right thing. So with regards to an ethics question, remember the key tip is do not attack the person who is wrong, rather attack the problem and the issue, which is what they did. So never attack the person, attack the issue. So let's say now in the case study, it explicitly states the values of the firm, be it treating customers with respect, ensuring the safety of the employees, doing things right as a firm. That is a clear indication of what the company stands for and the things that they do, the things that they value. So that's where we are able to bring back the values in answering an ethics question. And that's the first thing to look out for. The second thing to look out for is basically seeing whether the company is listed or it's a private firm. Because listed companies, remember, they have to comply with King. So if it's listed, then we know that King applies, even if it's not explicitly stated. It's embedded knowledge. And then if maybe in the governance section, it says that they take corporate governance seriously, that's when we do research on corporate governance. That's when we remind ourselves, what does King say? What does the Companies Act say? And all of that. So remember, the first aspect is identifying the values. And number two now is recognizing whether they adopt King and they take corporate governance seriously. So the third aspect will be knowing who is management, knowing who comprises of the board. That is very important because in the company, obviously you have the CEO, the CFO, financial director, and everybody else. What is important is noting who is a CASA. And that is very important because when you're jotting down in pre-release, you will note that maybe the CEO or the CFO is a CASA or someone in management is a CASA. That's when you will know that if that person contravenes the rules, then the CPC applies to them. So for example, if they say the CFO is a CASA with a degree in finance and that is their qualification, then what you will do on the day, let's say the case study that we get on the day states that the CFO contravened the rules, they try to bribe someone or some ethical dilemma. Then in your answering, you will state that I am aware that you are a CASA, so therefore let us look to CPC for guidance. And it encourages us to act with integrity and honesty, right? Because the fundamental principles of the CPC, and it's something that they have to basically comply with. So that is basically an example. So that's why it's very imperative to know who management is so that if it is triggered, we note it down in pre-release. And then the fourth component that we're going to focus on in ethics is the ethical dilemmas that can occur. So what I liked to do is basically look at the board composition and then write the recommendations of King. It's the basic principles of that. And let's say most board members are not independent, but rather just non-executives. And the one thing that one of the lecturers on the APC program stated is that cycle will not test you on what the King says, the recommendations that are stated in King, but rather why the recommendations are there. So for example, If we state that we note that not majority of the board composition is independent, then you will state that this can be a hindrance to the company because they may not be able to be objective in the decision making, but rather try to make decisions that are beneficial for them as a board and not the company holistically. And they may not be someone who is going to give an independent oversight to the decisions that are being made. Therefore, it can just work at the detriment of the firm. And then now when we're done analyzing the board composition, then I'd like to Google on the internet and just ask the internet what ethical dilemmas can occur in this industry in South Africa. If maybe the company is South African based, then we can, for example, let's say we get the construction industry. I will type what ethical dilemmas or issues can occur in the construction industry in South Africa. And then you get a summary basically of the ethical issues that may occur. But then that doesn't stop there. Now you're going to print whatever you had, and now you're going to summarize. If maybe in the construction safety is an issue, you're going to state, okay, safety is an issue, and then now we have to mitigate those risks. What can we do as a company? Because when we identify risks, SACA would like to test us on assessing that risk and how we can mitigate those risks if they were to be tested in the IOD or triggered in the IOD on the day. So what will help you is that once you get that list of ethical dilemmas that occur in that industry, you will have a column that says the ethical dilemma, and then you have another column that says the impact, and then you have another column that says the mitigating measures, right? Ways to reduce that risk basically that you identified. Because on the day, if they say that it's a safety issue, or maybe it's bribery, or another case that can occur, you already have the impact and how it's going to impact us as an entity. Always bring it back to the company you're dealing with. Always bring it back to the industry you are dealing with. So bringing that into your file is not basically having predetermined answers. It's not basically having predetermined, like, you know, when you prepare your answer and you think you're going to just dump all the information on the day. It's not going to be like that. That's just the basis of what you need to go into, you know, the exam with, right? So on the day, you have the information, you have the impact, you have the mitigating measures. So on the day, you apply whatever you researched to the ethical dilemma that is triggered. So we always have to wait for the IOD in order to know how to answer. But that is just a tip on how to prepare for an ethics question during the 5-day pre-release period. So now we are on the day of the exam. We have already identified the ethical dilemma and we need to respond to the email. The first thing you need to do in your answering structure is basically identify the problem and acknowledge that there is a problem. But however, remember I said that you don't attack the person who did wrong, you attack the problem. You basically address the problem and not the person. Then the second thing you will do is state that we do, as a company, we do take corporate governance seriously, or whatever you have identified in pre-release. Then you bring it back to say, I acknowledge that, you know, as a company, we take corporate governance seriously, or we take King seriously. Therefore, this is how we need to proceed as King recommends this, right? And then after that, we need to deal with the parties that are involved. The parties that are involved, we need to state that as a company, this is how we are responsible and this is how it's going to impact us. And then when it comes to our stakeholders, we need to acknowledge how it affects our stakeholders, be it our customers, be it our employees, or anyone involved who was explicitly stated in the case study. Then the next thing to consider is how we're going to resolve the matter. Now, as a company, we need to respond to the problem. We need to focus on mitigating measures. That is basically your conclusion. It's the way forward and what you're going to do. So the first person to address is the person who caused the ethical dilemma. you can't just say we need to fire that person, because realistically it does not work like that. So the best solution is disciplinary procedures and involving lawyers to give us legal advice. And the second thing would be if maybe the scenario, well, on the day, the IOD states that we have to issue out a news release to address the media. Then we're going to say, before we even put the matter out there, we need to issue out a press release as a company to get in front of the problem before the paparazzi, say something bad about us. So to save our reputation, we need to get ahead of the problem. So that can be one of the solutions. Then if maybe the trade unions are stated in the IOD, explicitly stated, then we're going to say we also need to address the trade union to tell them how we are moving forward. If maybe there is information that has been leaked from our company that caused the ethical dilemma and it compromised our customers, we have to address that. We have to ensure that we communicate with customers to say, listen, there was a security breach, and we just know that we are on top of the problem. And then if there's any other party mentioned in the IOD, we address every single party and leave no one out. Because remember, in our firm, we do the right thing. Because ethics is doing the right thing even when no one is looking. So that is basically how you tackle an ethics question from pre-release to IOD. But note how the information that you gathered in pre-release can already help you in IOD. Because remember, when we were researching the ethical dilemmas that might occur in this industry, we assessed the impact on the company as well as the mitigating measures. So in our conclusion on the day, we have to state what are we willing to do to make the company better with regards to ensuring this problem does not happen again. So this is where you pull forward the mitigating measures you had in pre-release and put them down on the day. But remember, make it relevant to the information on the day. You can't just dump information from your file onto the paper. It needs to be relevant and it needs to be intentional. So you need to make sure that you relate it to the IOD case study. And another thing that is important to note on the day is that we also need to assess how this problem impacts us and impacts our stakeholders. It can impact us with regards to our reputation. It can damage our reputation or maybe result in fines depending on what the ethical dilemma is. And with customers, maybe we can lose customers because of this. Or maybe the customers may not trust us because there was a breach in our system. So in pre-release, like I mentioned, we assess the ethical dilemma, we assess the impact and the mitigating measures. So 2 of those points were covered thoroughly in your answer on the day. So that is why it's very important that even if it's not triggered in pre-release, you have something that will help you for an ethics question on the day. Something in your file that is tangible and something that you understand. So on the day, you are just applying yourself to the information of the day and you are just ready to just shine and ace that ethics question. So yeah, if you have more questions relating to how to prepare for an ethics question, just leave comments in the comment section and I'll do my best to just respond to you. But yeah, Bolavis, all the best with answering an ethics question.